Hello listeners. This is the reading of the Sabbath School lesson for the fourth and final quarter of 2022.
The series is titled On Death, Dying and the Future Hope. The author is Dr. Alberto Tim, while your readers are Percy and Sibylla Harrold. Welcome to lesson number 5, titled Resurrections Before the Cross. It's ready for teaching on October 29, and I'm Percy Harrold. Sunday, October 23, the Resurrection of Moses. Read Jude 9 and Luke 9, 28-36. What evidences do you find in these texts for the bodily resurrection of Moses? First of all, Jude verse 9, Yet Michael the archangel, in contending with the devil when he disputed about the body of Moses, dared not bring against him a reviling accusation, but said, The Lord rebuke you. And Luke 9, 28-36. Now it came to pass about 8 days after these sayings that he took Peter, John, and James and went up on the mountain to pray. As he prayed, the appearance of his face was altered, and his robe became white and glistening. And behold, 2 men talked with him, who were Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his decease, which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. But Peter and those with him were heavy with sleep, and when they were fully awake, they saw his glory and the 2 men who stood with him. Then it happened, as they were parting from him, that Peter said to Jesus, Master, it is good for us to be here, and let us make 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah, not knowing what he said. While he was saying this, a cloud came and overshadowed them. And they were fearful as they entered the cloud, and a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my beloved Son, hear him. When the voice had ceased, Jesus was found alone, but they kept quiet and told no one in those days any of the things they had seen. Some Greek church fathers from Alexandria argue that when Moses died, 2 Moseses were seen, one alive in the spirit, another dead in the body. One Moses ascending to heaven with angels, the other buried in the earth. And that's recorded in Origen's Homilies on Joshua 2:1 by Clement of Alexandria in Stramata 6.15. This distinction between the assumption of the soul and the burial of the body might make sense to those who believe in the Greek concept of the immortal soul. But the idea is not in the Bible. Jude 9 confirms the biblical teaching of the resurrection of Moses' body because the dispute was about the body of Moses and not about any supposed surviving soul. Deuteronomy 34, 5-7 tells us that Moses died at 120 years of age, and the Lord buried him in a hidden place in a valley in the land of Moab. Let's read that. Deuteronomy 34, beginning at verse 5. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. And he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor. But no one knows his grave to this day. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes were not dim, nor his natural vigour diminished. But Moses did not remain for very long in the grave, as we read in Patriarchs and Prophets, page 478 and 479. Christ himself, with the angels who had buried Moses, came down from heaven to call forth the sleeping saint. For the first time, Christ was about to give life to the dead. As the Prince of Life and the Shining Ones approached the grave, Satan was alarmed for his supremacy. Christ did not stoop to enter into controversy with Satan, but Christ referred all to his Father, saying, The Lord rebuke you, in Jude 9. The resurrection was forever made certain. Satan was despoiled of his prey. The righteous dead would live again. End of quote. A clear evidence of Moses' resurrection is found in the Transfiguration. There Moses appeared with the prophet Elijah, who had been translated without seeing death, as we read in 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 to 11. And it came to pass, when the Lord was about to take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. Then Elijah said to Elisha, "Stay here, please, for the Lord has sent me on to Bethel." But Elisha said, "As the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you." So they went down to Bethel. Now the sons of the prophets who were at Bethel came out to Elisha and said to him, "Do you know that the Lord will take away your master from over you today?" And he said, "Yes, I know. Keep silent." Then Elijah said to him, "Elisha, stay here, please, for the Lord has sent me on to Jericho." But he said, "As the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you." So they came to Jericho. Now the sons of the prophets who were at Jericho came to Elisha and said to him, "Do you know that the Lord will take away your master from over you today?" So he answered, "Yes, I know. Keep silent." Then Elijah said to him, "Stay here, please, for the Lord has sent me on to the Jordan." But he said, "As the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you." So the two of them went on. The 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood facing them at a distance, while the two of them stood by the Jordan. Now Elijah took his mantle, rolled it up, and struck the water, and it was divided this way and that, so that the two of them crossed over on dry ground. And so it was, when they had crossed over, that Elijah said to Elisha, "Ask, what may I do for you before I am taken away from you?" Elisha said, "Please, let a double portion of your spirit be upon me." So he said, "You have asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if you see me when I am taken from you, it shall be so for you. But if not, it shall not be so." Then it happened, as they continued on and talked, that suddenly a chariot of fire appeared with horses of fire and separated the two of them, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. Moses and Elijah even dialogued with Jesus, and we read about that yesterday in Luke chapter 9. Verse 30 and 31 read, "And behold, 2 men talked with him, who were Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his decease, which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem." Moses' appearance, proof of Christ's coming victory over sin and death, is depicted here in unmistakable terms. It was Moses and Elijah, not their spirits, after all, Elijah hadn't died, who had appeared to Jesus there. And so to finish today, Moses was not allowed to enter the earthly Canaan. We read about that in Deuteronomy 34, verses 1 to 4. Then Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, which is across from Jericho. And the Lord showed him all the land of Gilead as far as Dan, all Naphtali and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah as far as the western sea, the south, and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees, as far as Zoar. Then the Lord said to him, "This is the land of which I swore to give Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I have caused you to see it with your eyes, but you shall not cross over there." But Moses was taken away into the heavenly Canaan. What does this teach us about how God, as it says in Ephesians 3:20, is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works in us? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.